Hey there, this is Dr. Nick Galli, mental performance consultant for US Speed Skating. And today I want to talk about probably one of the most asked about and popular topics in my world and really in all sport, and that's confidence. And about a sort of a unique way that I like to think about and talk about confidence with athletes and parents and coaches, because it is such a I don't know. It's like a unicorn, you know. It's like you try to grab onto it and catch it, and sometimes you got it, or you feel like you got it, um, and you're not quite sure why. So I think this method that I'm about to explain to you makes it um, a little bit less mysterious, and hopefully a little bit easier to grasp. So I like this image here because it's confidence that's under construction, because it's constantly under construction. Nobody's ever a finished product. Even in the very best in the world, confidence can go down and go up. It's just that the best in the world have a much higher floor, much more of a safety net than intermediates or novices. But it's definitely one of the top concerns that coaches, parents, and athletes alike will ask me about. I just don't feel confident. How do I get that? Can you give that to me? And it's definitely not something that I can give you, but I can give you some guidance. We do have quite a bit of research going way back into the 80s and before about where confidence comes from, both outside of sport and inside of sport. We have a pretty significant body of knowledge to suggest that these six things on the left here, uh, they are the ways to confidence and superior performance. So starting at the top, the obvious is just, where does confidence come from? It's being successful. It's accomplishing things. It's feeling like you're good at what you do. Down below it, this idea of what we sometimes call vicarious experience. So just sort of being peripherally involved in success, or watching other people that you're close with or can identify with being successful. There's almost kind of a rubbing off effect there. Down below that is encouragement, what they call verbal persuasion. So just words of encouragement, words of support. It's pretty common in the world of sport. Below that is the use of imagery to help create those successful experiences. Below that is, how do I feel? How does my body feel? And then on the bottom, how do I feel mentally and emotionally? So we can tackle each of these things, right? Each of these is a piece of the puzzle that will help an athlete over time to build their confidence and raise their floor, so to speak. The one that is the most powerful, and I think it makes sense, is doing well and having success. This top one, performance accomplishments, and that's the one that I, as much as possible, try to hone in on in my athletes who compete at a higher level. For athletes just getting going, it's going to take time, and it's about smaller successes, and probably a lot of encouragement, and getting them to a place where they're enjoying what they're doing, those emotional states, and where their body feels good. But for my higher performing athletes, that's how do we get you back in touch with doing well. So most powerful source is that top one, performance accomplishments. So this is my little analogy that I make that seems to work pretty well, is that I compare the building of your confidence to the building of your wealth, or your income, or your bank account. Very similar in that, I'm going to use a piggy bank because it's an easier visual. You deposit money into your piggy bank or your account, just like you deposit confidence into your body and to your mind through how you train, how you prepare, and then those performance accomplishments. There is no confidence without the preparation. Confidence without preparation is what we call overconfidence or false confidence. So those things that athletes do on a day-to-day basis, those are the deposits. Okay, those are the deposits. Anybody who has had success makes lots of deposits. Now, the next parts of that, of course, for anyone who's, made money and spent money, which is most of us, is that you got to make a withdrawal at some point so that you can afford the things that you need or want. For an athlete and confidence, what that looks like is going into an event, going to the line for a speed skater, trusting that they're ready, embracing the moment, and reaching for the result rather than hoping for the result or trying not to fail. It's reaching, it's not pulling back. Those types of behaviors and thoughts are the equivalent to making a withdrawal. Okay, so athletes have to make deposits, but they also have to make withdrawals. The athletes who don't make deposits, usually the issue there is one of commitment. How much do you really want this? But then there are some athletes who definitely have the commitment, but just don't know how or when to make the withdrawal. And they need help with that, as odd as that might sound. So it's a two-step process. Do the work. And then the second step on the withdrawal side, find a way to keep in constant touch with the work that you're doing. Sounds simple, but I think a lot of athletes, those who, highly committed and who are working toward doing great things, they begin over time to start taking for granted the work that they do. And in the beginning, lots of big significant gains that become much smaller marginal gains. And it all becomes old hat. But we don't want it to become old hat. We want athletes to constantly, recognize the sacrifices that they're making and any gains they are making, no matter how small. So how do you do that? Some of the traditional methods that we might use to help athletes make these withdrawals is the use of a journal. Now, this is an old-fashioned journal in the picture here, but it doesn't have to be that way. It can be a phone or any kind of electronic device. Really, honestly, anything we can get the athlete to do to express what's going on, how they're feeling, any kind of pride that they feel in the work that they did. A lot of athletes keep training journals. Training journals are a great place to also add a little bit on, like, hey, here's what I achieved today, or here's how I got better today. And then you save that. So it's something you can go back to. Watching film can be a good way to remind athletes of the work they've done and how far they've come. That can happen the old-fashioned way, or it can happen through a popular technique that we use in sports psychology called visualization or imagery. So getting athletes to relive those past great experiences. These are all ways of making withdrawals. The deposits mean nothing unless you make a withdrawal. So that's what I'll leave you with. There really is no secret or magic formula. Confidence is earned through your training and preparation and sacrifice. That said, once you've earned it, you've got to take some steps to make sure that you take advantage of it and make withdrawals. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks for listening.